All right, it is 6 o'clock, so I would like to officially call this meeting to order. If you would all rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we do not have Matt Wielander here tonight. He did call yesterday. He is a fire chief and was called out to a fire in Quincy, so he's unable to join us by Zoom either. Have all board members had a chance to take a look at the agenda this evening?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the agenda has been adopted. Now we will go to Superintendent Jesse for his report.
Great. Thank you, Board President Davidson, other board directors, community members, family members, and staff. Start off, it is maintenance season. The summer is the time that our buildings are empty and we're getting in there and getting all the things that need to be fixed, anywhere from the fascia on buildings. I've seen just replacing after these last couple of years, some heavy rains. It wasn't too bad this year, but previous years just starting to have to replace some of those things so it doesn't deteriorate any further. Of course, we're always working inside our buildings, cleaning up things, getting things back in orderly operation. So that's going really well for us. I also some mitigation about sometimes just drainage. So those are always things that we're battling. So those are just a few of the maintenance projects that we have going on. And I just want to, again, thank the taxpayers for passing the levy. That's a big deal for us because it helps pay for those maintenance fixes. Without it, we wouldn't be able to support those efforts. So it's just another really part of what we offer is really important. In addition to maintenance, obviously, it supports a number of things, including special education services, mental health services, safety and security, some of the things that I know the public has brought to us in the past. Those are things that the levy really helps support. And so I just, again, thank you so much for all our constituents out there that help pass the levy. I appreciate that. I just have one other item. I just, I think every time is just talk about our strategic plan, about what we do and why we're doing it. I just thought I would bring a different book. I don't have a book that a student had with all the notes in it like I did last time, but this is my summer reading. It's reading that we have for our high schoolers. So a number of staff are reading the books over the summer as part of just their own ability to connect with literacy. I think it's really important. So really my promotion is if you're interested in reading, getting a book, the library is open. Unfortunately, I know I was going to say that our own vending machine, we have a vending machine right outside the doors here to get a book, but unfortunately that is unplugged to save electricity over the summer. But there, again, you can go back to your public library, plenty of books out there for everybody's liking, no matter what your genre or your particular theme that you like. There is something out there for everyone. So I'll be diving into mine if you're interested. Angeline Boulay, Firekeeper's Daughter. It's about actually a biracial tribal member, and it's got a little bit of a thriller element to it. So I'll just be on the seat of my pants around that book. Yep. So, and then also just related to reading, I know that some of the information that's coming out across the nation is just around some of the reading and math scores, some of the learning loss that happened during COVID, and yet another year in which a lot of the test scores seem very stagnant. And why do they seem stagnant? And I think my statement that I've made in the past, and I will make again, is it is not business as usual. That we cannot just sit there and say, oh, this is how we've always done it. Our students demand more and they deserve better. And so in order to make up for that loss, You just can't do the same number of hours and you can't do the same number of strategies. So we do have Double Down. We do have summer programming going on, which we have hundreds of youth. All of our incoming ninth graders have had access to books to read over the summer that the staff selected, so that's super fun for them. They get to select in their own book. And then, of course, this next school year will continue to ramp up, still provide outstanding reading instruction and a lot of our professional development, which is where I'm spending my time right now, is just prepping for professional development efforts for our educators and our leaders across the district. So as we get ready for the 23-24 school year, to raise those scores. It is about the students. I know there is always going to be things out there that where adults want to talk about adult things and kids want to most certainly deserve instruction, because without the ability to read and write at grade level, again, only 50% of our 10th graders last year met standard in reading and writing, 50%. So having books and books of choice is really important for them and their ability to connect with the world and be college and career ready. So with that concludes my remarks. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for your report. That leads us to community comments, and I know we've got one, and I believe we have someone else who has signed up. So I don't know if you mind grabbing that other page. I will read the standard language around community comments at this time. As part of the regular school board meeting, the board invites community members to make public comments in person and or by phone as conditions allow. If speaking in person, please follow the public comment procedure by signing in and stating your name and address at the podium when called by the board chair. If making comments by phone, please dial 1-253-215-8782 and enter meeting ID number 854-3386-9913. Each person is allowed 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board will direct the superintendent to follow up on any items that arise during public comment as appropriate. The board will not allow complaints against an individual staff member or student in open session unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. Marilyn, Aaron? It's whichever, that's fine. So Dean Jewett, if you would like to go first.
So I've got a few books here I'm going to read from, so you might want to plug some of your ears. Last night at the Telegraph Club, so Kath put her hand between Lily's legs, and Lily, helping her, fumbled with her underwear. It was awkward, but when Kath's fingers touched her, they both gasped. "Am I in the right place?" Kath asked. "Yes," Lily whispered. "Nice pick, Jesse." Patricia whimpered as Maxine pressed her lips to her neck. And then their lips pressed together, and Lily tugged at the hem of her nightgown and pressed her fingers between her thighs and pressed. "Nothing like a little affection between girls. Always makes my day." This one here was on the New York Times, one of the year's best books. Anytime you see that, throw the thing in the goddamn garbage can as far as I'm concerned. Eleanor Park. Okay? "Jesus, fuck," Park said softly, nodding to space next to him. "Just sit down. I know you're a slut. You smell like cum. Do I make you wet? It so fucking does. It's a real fucking thing. You can kill somebody with it. You're full of shit. You're full of shit. Are you retarded?" Steve said. "His mom's Chinese." "I always thought you were Mexican." "Shit, Mikey," Steve said. "You're a fucking racist." "Do you think we should get in the back seat?" She pushed off of him and slid over the back seat. God, it was huge. It was glorious. Not even a second later, Park landed on top of her. "Suck me off." Great book. Do you think Mrs. Richard would like that, Carla, when we went to Awana's down at the Baptist church? I don't think so. He reaches down and honks my boob. A much too firm 2 to 3 second honk. It was the first thing I thought was okay. How I extradite this claw from my boob before it leaves a permanent mark. Lying naked in bed together, already drunk, they're smoking a joint. He loves weed like Alaska loves sex. Sex is pretty fun. You're hopeless. Want to go porn hunting? Your kids go porn hunting, Wyeth? French, Phil, finger, fuck. It's like you skipped the 3rd grade. We found plenty of porn magazines haphazardly stuffed between mattresses and box springs. Do you guys all realize that these are books that are in the ELA curriculum? I mean, you guys must be so proud. The only one that I seen anybody stand up was Sandy. Thank you, I appreciate it. Wyeth, you gonna read these to your kids? I bet you're not. You guys all see this, the rating content? Maybe y'all ought to look at it. This isn't even part of the 70,000 that you approved and purchased over the summer. Great job. I am so proud of all of you guys.
Marilyn.
My name is Marilyn Aaron. I live out Cloqualum. Y'all know. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim Ballard. He is an anti-human trafficking advocate that used to work for the Department of Homeland Security as an agent. He left that job to make an impact in the fight against child sex trafficking and founded the organization Operation Underground Railroad. This organization rescues children all across the world from the sex trafficking industry. I watched an interview where he spoke out about some of the information that is currently being allowed in curriculums in our public school system across the country. His words, and I quote, "I am scared to death right now of what's happening in the policy world. I used to be able to arrest people as a federal agent for distributing the very materials that teachers are giving children at 3rd grade. The scary part for me is once you start empowering children with the ability to consent to that, there's nothing that you're going to have left once you've taken away all the science and the moral foundations that built this nation, and the laws that start codifying around this new strange concept. There is nothing that is going to stop you from now saying that a child that is 13 can now consent to sex with a 50-year-old pedophile. We must wake up and stop allowing our children to be sexualized, exposing our children, our future, to such books as some on this list normalizes this kind of behavior and puts them right in the middle of the evil that we have up until the past few years strived and fought to protect them from. When did we stop caring about their innocence? Because I haven't. Why have you? If you truly had the best interests of our children in mind, you would not approve a curriculum that contains suicide, ideation, inflammatory racial division, murder in vivid details, and sexually explicit materials in graphic details such as, "Wow," she said. "What?" "She looked up at me but didn't move, her face nanometers away from my penis. It's weird, just big, I guess." And she wrapped her hand around it and put it into her mouth. My fist clenched and my body shaking. It was my first orgasm. Towards the end of another book, the girls have sex in a high school classroom. That sounds great, doesn't it? Kath put her hands between Lily's legs. It was awkward, but it was when Kath's fingers touched her, they both gasped. Kath's fingers rubbed, and it was so marvelous, so intoxicating. She'd never really been touched herself like this before, her body shuddering, and she leaned into Kath, holding her as she moved, feeling Kath's wetness slide against her leg. It was extraordinary. How is this appropriate for children as young as 14 years old? This is not what we should be normalizing for our children. This is a phase of pornography, and if we start here, what else does this open the door for? Go buy a ticket and watch the movie Sound of Freedom. This will probably be the most powerful movie that you have ever seen. It's showing at our theater downtown, and it starts Friday. Every parent around the world should see this film. This film will show the world about the horrific crime of child sex trafficking. We should never normalize this behavior, ever.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. I don't believe we have any that have come in online or through the phone. Yeah. I can mark you down, Kara, if you would like to state your name and address just for the record when you get up there.
All right. Hi, I'm Kara Metcalf. I've kind of chatted a couple times. I've talked to a couple of you. I've heard from parents. I'm concerned, you guys. Are you guys caring for the kids, or are you caring for money from the government? We need change, and you guys have to take it. It's ridiculous. I hear from kids that come over. My kids, not in the public school. A lot of these kids have said, we don't like school. We hate it. We don't feel safe. what they're reading, what they learn. You guys, we don't want kids to drop out. Don't we want to empower and help our kids? What happened to caring? Do we not care anymore? I want to know. You guys are our power to help our kids. We've lost it. And there's a couple of us that are here to stand up for our kids. Where's everybody else at? Have they not read the list that you guys approved? Did you guys look at the books before we approved it? We need to change, and what do we do as parents to help? Because we say things and nobody does anything. And you guys are the board to reach out to us because we're a team, aren't we? There's no I in team. We're a team, all of us. So what can we do to help fix things? And I mean, I keep hearing from more parents and people like, I wish I could stand up like you. I hate standing up. You guys know it. I'm the worst person, but I am here because for Christ's sakes, we need this. I have one kid, you guys. He is an angel child. Look at all the other people that cannot be here. I don't know even what to say. But you guys we have to work together. We have to change. And Jesse, we've talked. Carrie, you know how I feel. But we got to do something, you guys. And we are here. We're not here to argue and yell and scream. We're here to work together to make it happen. And I keep telling you guys, please reach out. Please ask questions because we might be able to help and make change. And we need it now before it gets worse. And I keep telling Jesse, and I'm going to still do it, and I will keep showing up, you guys, and I'm going to continue coming to meetings until we can figure out something. Because our kids deserve this. And you guys all know that. And we all know this. But please, you guys, we have to do it now before it's too late. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other public comments at this time? All right, then we will continue on with our agenda.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion at this time, and I would move that the books that the public has brought to light and that they should undergo further review before being placed in the buildings.
What's that? Yes, there's been a motion. Is there some discussion on this?
I would like to motion for a meeting where we discuss the books and we discuss the concerns that have been brought forward, and we then place it on the agenda so that the general public can be made aware and they can bring all their missing friends and family that they feel are not being heard.
Okay. I think we have to deal with one motion before the next one. So we'll address the first one, and then you can make your motion as well.
Could we have Sandy read her motion again?
I move that the books brought to our attention by the public undergo further review before being placed in the building. It doesn't prevent them from being ordered. I understand they've already been ordered. It just means that maybe they undergo review. My understanding is not all 150 books were read that were on that list. There was just a sampling that was read. And my understanding is that that could be possibly 30 books that were read out of the 150. And if I remember correctly at the last presentation, there were 12 books that were rejected. If those 12 were rejected out of the 30 that were read, that's a pretty high rejection rate. If those 12 were rejected out of all 150, that might be a different story. But given some of what we've heard, and I think it would be wise to give those books that have been brought to our attention further review before placing them in the buildings. The committee can look at them before they're actually put back in the buildings. And I'd be looking for anyone that wanted to second the motion.
No, I like the idea that we can further pursue when we gain knowledge and we understand that there's a concern. I think we should look at it. So I am going to second Sandy's motion to take a second look at books. And I think that's fair.
My concern is that we do have a committee that is in place, so there's a process. It's not that there are not issues that need to be brought up.
No.
We can have discussion at our own meeting. So my question is, you know, without Mary Ann here, without any of those committee members here, you know, I'm trying to mull over because I wasn't aware that you were going to bring a motion up in this meeting. So I'm hearing about this. I'm just trying to understand what the best way is to go about this process, because we do have a committee.
Yes.
And they reviewed the books. Whether or not there was a thorough review or not is part of that question. This is, I'm sorry, Marilyn, I really am, because yes, Doug Peterson. Yes, and I appreciate you giving that information. What I do need to reiterate is that this is a school board meeting that we put on for the public to watch, but it's not a meeting where we get to have, other than the public comment, unfortunately, if people want to talk before to us or after the meeting, we are happy to talk to people. Any one of us up here is, but during our meeting, this is a meeting to be conducted in the public.
Yes. No. No. No.
And that's why my motion specifically doesn't say who would be who would undergo the further evaluation. And I assume it would be the same committee that started it. So I'm not, and I realize that with summer coming, that may be difficult. Perhaps they can, sorry, thank you. With summer coming, that may be difficult to have the instructional
You can ask a
committee
question.
review. But again, this is only before they're placed in the building, so we can work with this in the fall and, you know, at least give time for people to give it further review.
Yeah, so the Director Tarzal, do you have the list of books, though, that is part of the motion?
I caught two titles as people were reading, and I would assume the ones that were also mentioned at the last meeting, whatever those titles were, somebody would have to, I have a list of what the titles were that were brought up at the last meeting, and we have that email from Doug that talks about those titles. So we can get that there, and then whatever titles were brought up tonight. Some of them may be duplicates, some of them may be new. I think it's probably less than 10 books in total that have been brought up.
I guess why are you asking about the specific list?
Yeah, I'm just asking for,
Like-
on the record, so that we have the books that are asked to be held, so that it's not a miscommunication to you or the public about which books are specifically being asked by the board to
So
hold
out of
up as
that
part of this motion.
150 books,
Okay.
are there the 30 titles?
Can you read that for the record?
Like a Love Story, Eleanor and Park, The Hate You Give, Brave New World, The 57 Bus, Looking for Alaska, Last Night at the Telegraph Club, I'll Give You the Sun, that's 8, and I don't know if there were any other new titles introduced tonight.
Can you ask?
Could we,
That was on the list.
could we bring these books forward with a comparison of the bias tool to show how the criteria was weighted and decided on?
It's part of the process, yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
maybe,
So as part of the review process,
Yeah,
they could do
so-
that, yes.
since that portion was done in the committee, perhaps we could bring forth the weighting using the anti-bias tool and what was done on those titles, just so that we can all inform ourselves as to the committee's decisions, groups, and reasons for those titles, because we hear your concerns. We did not hear them before approving the books, and that's about it. They've been approved, so.
Well, so at this point, we do have, at this point, we do have a motion and a second. Are we ready to take a vote? So all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no.
No.
So it has passed 3-1 to further review these books. All right, we do not have anything under reports and recognitions this evening, so we will go into the consent agenda, which does have a number of things on it this evening. But there are usual things in the consent agenda. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. Hearing none, the consent agenda has passed. We don't have a whole lot on our agenda this evening, so there's not anything under discussion and action items. So at this point, I will go to board member comments. Is there anyone that would like to start with comments this evening?
I'll go ahead and start. Always, I try and thank the public for coming to speak. I know it's a difficult thing to do. We need to hear from you when things are going well. We also need to hear from you when things aren't necessarily pleasant conversations, but that's the whole point of being in public service, is you get both sides. You get the good and the bad. And I want to thank my fellow board members for their attention to these the books and this delicate issue, and just giving it a little bit more time to sort it all out.
Carla, did you have any comments this evening?
No, I don't have any comments this evening.
Lauren, do you have any comments this evening?
I would like to thank everyone that came up and provided public comment, and just remind everybody that the curriculum is, and the books were there for the appropriate age groups, and you may feel that it is not appropriate for younger groups, and remember that you were on a public microphone and our younger groups were listening, whereas most of those books will not be read to your kindergarten class. And the sexual health curriculum has been approved by the state, and I... Yes. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak also, like you were provided. But it is approved, and there's many processes and things that have to occur at the board, and feel free to spend some time learning those processes, learning how the state and school system works, and know that we appreciate your comments, and maybe you can bring more families to the community, because we haven't heard many. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming to the meeting this evening and spending a night like this and telling us about your concerns. We do appreciate that. We will be going to an exempt session this evening. So we are not adjourning just yet. So if we can sign the documents first before going to that, then we will be doing a grievance hearing and then coming back out, but no action is anticipated.